Welcome. It's time for our regular Tuesday live stream. And this type of live is one of my favorites because we're doing a live Q&A. Yes. So for those of you who may not know, hi, I'm Abby Ashley. I'm the founder of The Virtual Savvy. And we teach people how to launch, grow, and, really build their own dream life working from home through virtual assistants. And I love talking about virtual assistants. Virtual assistants changed my life. It's changed the lives of thousands of individuals that we've been able to impact. And I love the idea of virtual assistants because it is such a flexible career that you can choose the services that you want to choose. You can work the hours that you want to work, and it's a legit service. It's not. Does anybody else like? That's my favorite thing is that when I first started and found out about the VA world, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not just like selling things to my friends and family, which, nothing against that if that's what you love. But man, I didn't love the idea of every conversation with a friend or family member potentially feeling like I was just trying to sell something to them, which is why I never did an MLM. And when I found virtual assistants, it was like, oh my gosh, like I have a real service to offer and real value in exchange for money. And so that's why I love virtual assistants. I think it is a great stepping stone for some people onto becoming a course creator or a coach, right? Because it's the fastest way to make money online. And I also think that it's great for relationship building. It's great for learning new skills. It's great for people who need flexible work. So if you can't tell, I love virtual assistants, and we're going to talk about it today in a live Q&A time. So I know we got a couple of questions over on Instagram that we'll go through those maybe first. But what questions do you have about virtual assistants, about getting started? Where are you stuck in your business? Let's talk about it today. We're going to spend the full hour literally just answering your questions. So we'll jump right in. Before I do, I want to note, if you have not yet made a portfolio over on Hello Savvy, now is the time to do it. I'm so excited to see some of the beautiful portfolios that you guys that you have already created. And we've been having so much fun. We've been doing these portfolio workshops. We did a ton of them when we first launched, and we said, you know what, let's keep these going because they've been so awesome, and we want to help you guys build beautiful portfolios. So if you go to hellosavvy.com/portfolio workshop, you can apply to be a part of one of our next portfolio workshops, and we can look at your portfolio, give you feedback on it. And I'm so excited because jobs are starting to get posted on the site, and we're going to see more and more of those accumulate just as the site goes on. So thanks for everybody who has already made a portfolio. Make sure that you share it too, right? Like share your portfolio that you've created outside of Hello Savvy because we want the world to know about it, first of all. Number two, it's just a really great introduction, right? Post it in a group and ask for feedback on it. Ask other people, hey, have you checked out this platform yet? And what are your recommendations on, how to beef up my portfolio, right? Like use it as a way to get in front of new customers, right? Awesome. So let's do this. I know we have some questions already coming in on the chat. I want to answer a few that came in on Instagram. So I'm going to pop those up real quick here. Okay, so one of the questions that we got was advice around setting turnaround time boundaries with clients instead of everything being urgent. Oh my gosh, this question from Emily France. Thank you, number one, for asking this question because I think it's really, really important. So what do you do when you have a client who is just wanting everything on the spot, right? No, 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 no. Number one, I think that this is something to do very, very early on. So for anybody who maybe hasn't started working with clients yet, that's okay because you'll get to learn this lesson a little bit early, right? Which is always a good thing. You always, in the very beginning, want to set the tone with your clients in a few different ways. Number one, you need to have it in your contract and in your onboarding meeting. So whether that's a welcome packet that you send like a PDF, or if you invite them into a meeting where it's just kind of the beginning stages of how I work, it needs to be very clearly communicated from day one what communication is going to look like, right? And so my opinion, right? And there's always there's other ways to do that. I'm not saying that my opinion's the only way to do it, but my opinion is to, especially if you're doing like general VA work, is to say, hey, I generally respond to emails, right? Also, choose just the ways you want to communicate. I never shared my phone number with clients just because I didn't want to be responding to text messages. So whatever lines of communication, whether it's Slack or whether it's email or whether it's Vox or whatever you've decided, hey, this is going to be my primary form of how we'll communicate, then you can say, hey, I do my best to respond within 24 hours, or you could say within a workday or within an 8-hour period, whatever you decide, right? Any projects that need done in less than 24 hours or 48 hours, again, what you said, I always said 48. I always said I'll respond to emails in 24. I'll try to complete projects within 48 hours, as long as they're a good sized like not a crazy sized project. And I would communicate that in my welcome packet or in my onboarding meeting, right? And anything. And here's the kicker: in my contract and in a welcome packet or in a welcome meeting, if anything needs done in less than 48 hours, like without a 48-hour heads up, I'm going to charge an additional rush fee for that, right? And so for me, it was just an extra 10 or 15% charge. And again, the key to this is communicating it ahead of time. I also think, and some people might not agree with this, but I think that even if you don't have a ton of clients, I think it's a good idea to not get in the habit of like, if they email you, emailing within the next like 2 seconds, right? I'm not saying don't respond quickly. Please don't hear that. Please be communicative. Please respond in a good and timely manner to your clients. But there's something to be said about setting a precedence. If you have one client and you respond within 2 seconds to every single email, every single text message, Slack, whatever, and then you get 3 or 4 clients and now it takes you an hour to respond, right? I think there's something to be said for that. So there's nothing wrong with just, I think that as a general rule, and this is not just a hit on VAs, this is our society, right? I feel like we feel the need to respond to things immediately that don't need responded to immediately, right? Like not every text message needs an immediate response. Not every phone call needs picked up. Not every email needs to be responded to right away. It's the reason why I've turned off all notifications on my phone and on my desktop, right? Like I don't know when I get an Instagram DM. I don't know when I get a Facebook message. I barely know when I get a phone call or text because I'm just really bad about leaving my phone on silent. So like, and I mean, coming from me, I'm not the best at responding to all of that anyways, but I will say this, that like, then what you can do is you can set aside time, right? Because you need to be the one that's in control here. I'm going to set aside time to, this is my time to check Facebook. This is my time to respond to emails. So if you have 3 times a day that you respond to emails, 9, noon, and 5, like those are the 3 times I respond to emails. You respond, clear your inbox, you're good to go, right? That keeps you from being all over the place and feeling like you're having to be on your clients every beck and call, right? So do you want to respond promptly? Yes. Do you want to communicate with your clients? Yes. Please don't hear me saying don't communicate with your clients, because I do want you to communicate with your clients. But at the same time, you've got to set those boundaries in the very beginning. That's honestly, I love that Slack now has where you can schedule messages, right? So there'll be times where maybe you're working at like 9 o'clock at night, but you don't want to get in the habit of your client like emailing you at 9 o'clock at night and responding, or Slack messaging you at 9 and expecting an answer at 9 o'clock at night. So you could schedule that message to go out first thing in the morning, right? Same, there's like extensions that you can use. I think one's called like Boomerang with Gmail. And so you could schedule to send an email to go out in the morning instead of like right away. So there are just some tools that you can use in order to help you set those expectations as well. I think we'll go back and forth because we're getting so many good questions in the comments here that I want to go to these questions and then we'll go back to Instagram and we'll go back and forth. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, tried MLM for a while. I could never do it. I could never just feel like every conversation I was having was like a sales pitch to somebody. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. How do we add value to Facebook job ops that request to only comment, not send a PM or an email? Okay. So here's what I would recommend. Okay, first let's cover this for anybody who doesn't know what value first is. You, I see, are a Savvy System member, so of course you know what value first is. So value first is something that we talk about all the time here at the Virtual Savvy. And this is the idea that whenever you are giving your first impression to somebody, especially a client, a prospective client, you don't want to come just with a like, hey, here's my website, here's my portfolio, whatever. You want to come with your best foot forward. And there are job opportunities literally everywhere, guys. I mean, there are job opportunities posted in our free Facebook group. There's job opportunities over at Hello Savvy. There's job opportunities being sent in email. There's networking groups. There are networking meetings. There are conferences where there are tons of people just walking around who don't even know they need your services, but are almost ready to hire, who are struggling and need a VA, right? Who haven't officially posted a job up yet. There's tons of places I could keep going. But so what happens when somebody finally does post a job? Let's say it's in a Facebook group and all these people are commenting, right? Like, and they say, don't email me, don't DM me, don't anything. And you're like, how do I show value first? So value first essentially is the idea that you're going to put your best foot forward and you're going to give a little bit above and beyond just what they asked for. And so let's say they say, hey, drop your website below. Okay. What I would do in that circumstance is I would not only drop my website, I would do that for sure, do what they asked, always follow instructions, but I would go the extra mile. So the extra mile to me is looking at the person. Pretty much you can use your spidey senses and Google abilities to usually click on the person, go to their personal profile, see what businesses are listed, go look up their website, look up the business, look up anything about them, right? And even if it's so above and beyond, could be a personal touch. It could be, hey, like super random, but I noticed that we both graduated from the same university. Like super cool, go Wildcats. I don't know. I've been watching too much High School Musical with my daughter. So it could be that. It could be by the way, side note, I don't know if any of you know, but I competed in speech and debate against Lucas Grabeel, the blonde kid in High School Musical, and we beat him like almost every time. So I just felt like that was really important for everyone to know. Um, that's my glory days. Okay, so it could be a personal touch. It could be, and this is my favorite kind of value first, is that you really like create or give them something of business value too. So let's say they're looking for an email marketing specialist, right? Like right there in your comment, you could say, here are 20 subject lines. And it seems super random. It's like, are they really going to use that? Maybe not. But like, I know you're looking for an email marketing specialist. I love email marketing. Like, here are my 20 best subject lines that I see get results every time. And boom, just drop them right there in the comments, right? Remember, you can put links inside of Facebook groups. So you could always link to, like, additionally, I want to note, I created this for you. Link to something in Canva, link to something in a Google Doc, right? A link to a Loom video, you guys. Loom is one of my favorite things on the planet. So literally, let's say you go to their website and you're like, let's talk about some ways I think that I could help you. Bam, 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 bam. Here's something I noticed. What about this? Have you thought of this? Da, 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 da. Even if they don't use your ideas, it's still a way to make yourself stand out from the competition. So use what you have. If they say, don't email me, don't DM me, no attachments, no whatever, fine, then you can drop a link right there to something. Okay, so that's what I would recommend. Again, it's just, if there's going to be 80 people responding, which sometimes happens, right? There's 80 people responding to a job op. How are you going to stand out, right? And I'll tell you this, most people don't do value first. Most people don't do it. And if you do it, I promise you will raise up to like the top 3 to 5% of people who applied, and it instantly gives you that much more chance of actually getting the job. Okay. Value first, value first, value first. It works, it works, it works. So great question, Brittany. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Okay. Great question. What information should be included in an onboarding package? So we have an entire blog post, actually. Let me see if I can find it or if my team can find it. This is my process. I'll share it with you. This is how good I am at my business. The Virtual Savvy onboarding. This is how I search for things. Oh, look. The Virtual Savvy's Guide to Onboarding Clients. There it is. It's the easiest way that I find things. So we have like a whole, it's a really good blog post. Look, boom, 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 boom. Like it's a lot of information here. So I'm just going to refer you to that because honestly, that is a really, really good post on how to onboard clients, what needs to be included. I'll go through the notes really quickly here. So you need to number one, like make sure that a contract is sent and an invoice, and then you set up the actual onboarding meeting and ongoing communication. So the onboarding meeting is that time where you go and you say, hey, this is my working hours. These are the procedures. Here are, passwords that need to be shared, all of that. And then we do have a client onboarding system. Yeah, we do. I think it's in our store, thevirtualsavvy.com/store. So check that out as well. Okay. Yeah, there needs to be a huge premium if accept a rush, talking about like, what do you do with rush jobs? I totally, totally agree. Will this live stream be replayed? Yes. So everything, you guys, if you guys don't already know, if you go to Abbey, or if you go to thevirtualsavvy.com/Abbey Ashley, right? No, thevirtualsavvy.com/YouTube. I'm on it today. Thevirtualsavvy.com/YouTube. That's our YouTube channel. And you guys, all of these live streams are always replayed over on YouTube. Okay. Not only, I mean, like every live stream that I've done for like the past years and years are over there, as well as we produce a new video almost every single week. So definitely go and check out. You can binge watch our YouTube channel forever. So much free information over there. Okay, this is a great question. What do you do when you have a client who gives you so much work, and how to balance other clients with that? So great question. And this is an ebb and flow. This is the always increasing like balance. And it's every single kind of business has this. Okay. So don't, it's not just unique to virtual assistants. Every type of business is going to go through two periods. Okay. You're either in a systems period or in a marketing period. Okay. And so, if you are at a point where you're like, man, my client work seems really heavy, you're in a systems period. You need to create the systems in your business so that you have the ability to market more, right? And so systems can mean a lot of things, right? So for you specifically, if you have one client that is asking for a lot of work, my first question is, are you open to subcontracting? Because that is a perfect opportunity. If you're like, I don't have enough time to meet all of my clients' needs, ding ding, like that is the sign that you might be ready to start passing off some of that work, right? Which in my opinion is one of the best ways to grow a virtual assistant company, is by continuing to bring on higher end clients and subcontracting out some of the work so that you can spend time managing. And I mean, getting to where you're not doing all the work in your business means that you can take a real vacation, right? Like I am all about building a team. Everyone who goes through our Savvy Circle program, the emphasis really is on trying to build a team so that you can have systems and SOPs and pass off some of the work so that other people can do the work in your business too, right? So that would be one thing that I would suggest. Number two, it might just be a personal balance and a structure issue. So again, you're either in a marketing or a system season. So right now you're in a system season. So it might just be that it's time for you to go through and personally say, you know what, I have 5 clients. I'm going to dedicate, 1 day to each client, or I'm going to dedicate 2.5 hours to each client per day, or however it works out, right? Like time blocking. We have tons of videos over on YouTube on time blocking. Again, just type in the Virtual Savvy time block or Abbey Ashley time block, and I'm sure you'll find something. So we have videos on time blocking, and so it'll take you saying, okay, these are the times I'm going to work for this dedicated client, and then these are the times I'm going to work for these other clients, right? and just starting to schedule that in. So I would the hardest thing is when you're in it, right? When you're right in it and you feel like the other client's right here and you're like, and it's just like right in front of your face. So you as a CEO, one of the most important things you can do is take time every week to pull back from it all, to look at everything you're doing in your business, to get out of like the ins and outs of the business and pull back and look at your business as a whole and look at it as a CEO and say, okay, these are all the puzzle pieces. How can I move them around? How can I work this out to where I'm living my life the way I want to where I'm treating my customers well, where I'm setting myself up with the systems to where I could take on more clients if that's something that you want, right? And so again, that's that whole systems marketing push. If you set up the right systems, then you could have the potential for more clients, right? And that's where you go, okay, now it's time to market more. Ooh, I have more clients. Ooh, it's feeling a little heavy. It feels like we don't really have the capacity to handle this. Let's focus on systems again. Okay, our systems, now we're ready to market some more, right? And you can keep growing that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I always feel like businesses are either in a system season or a marketing season, and that they just go back and forth. They toggle back and forth between those. So I hope that that's helpful. Okay. Marvin and Tyler, what are your suggestions for someone just starting out in terms of advertising? Do you suggest making a business page or something like Fiverr? Just curious where you would start to start advertising. Okay, good question. So my best suggestion, honestly, is to go to, I have it down here somewhere. Don't I have it? thevirtualsavvy.com/BBO. Let me just put, oh, there it is. Okay. I was like, I thought I had a link somewhere. Thevirtualsavvy.com/BBO. This is a 60-minute training where I tell you all my best marketing tips. Okay. So it goes a little bit into like how to price and package your services, but then we really dig into how do you market your business? How do you get your first clients? The very first tip I share with you is going to be a friends and family outreach, right? And I know I just like totally bashed on friends and family, and I don't want to sell to my friends, but don't worry, you're not selling to your friends and family. What you're doing is you are letting your friends and family know about your business. Do the people who already love you, already want to cheer you on, do they know about your business already? It's really, really important that you do like an initial, like, hey, I'm open for business, tell the world. And it's scary to do. I get that. But the thing is that you probably know one small business owner, right? And just like you know one small business owner, maybe it's a real estate agent, maybe it's someone who's doing really well in MLM, maybe it's um, a health coach or a career coach or a mom and pop shop. You probably know one person who owns a small business. Just like you know someone who owns a small business, everyone you know knows someone who owns a small business. So just by telling your network, you're automatically like getting the word out and letting people know about your business. So that's the first place that I would start. If we're talking online platforms, of course, there are Fiverr and Upwork and all of those places. My personal favorite is going to be Hello Savvy, right? Because it's ours. We created it. But out of those, I would say Hello Savvy would be number one and Upwork would be number two. Upwork, just search for the $3 signs though. Like don't even waste your time with the others. That's one of the things that people don't like about those platforms, that there's a lot of like bottom of the barrel jobs there that you just don't even want to waste your time with. And so yeah, those would be my first recommendations. But definitely check out this webinar because this webinar is like jam-packed full of really, really good information on how to get your first client and how to, really develop a marketing system beyond that as well. Such good questions. Yeah, so this is a Hello Savvy question. So we're working on the image sizing issues right now. They are limited, but we are creating those portfolio images to be different sizes here in the future. So one thing at a time with our developers. We are working. Our first priority is always glitches. So we had a few glitches in the system when we first launched, and now we're moving on to features, which I'm super excited. So you guys will see more and more of that rolling out. In fact, we have a rollout coming out in just 2 days. So some of these features will be released soon for sure. Okay. Oh, so Rakina, yeah. So if you were a Savvy Systems student and you were kind of doing the VA thing and got out of it, I totally get it. You are a Savvy Systems student for life, right? So jump back in 100%. You can either pick up where you left off, you could start back at the beginning. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching videos in 2x. So sometimes it's nice to just go through a refresher. And if you're going on a walk or driving in the car, if you already, if you're like, I just need a refresher the first few lessons, just go and listen to them in like 2x speed. And then, okay, this is where I'm at. Maybe you set up all your business stuff and now you're ready just to market again. Just you can jump straight to the marketing section or you can go through all the other stuff. But yeah, jump back in. Come on. We would love to have you back in it. Let's see. So good. Oh, this is a good question. How do I find quality Facebook groups to join as a YouTube video editor and ads manager? Most groups I find are terrible or full of spammers. I need quality clients help, please. Okay, so a couple of different thoughts for you. So number one, Facebook groups are just one of the ways to find clients. Okay. So I would definitely, yes, you can join some YouTuber groups. I agree. Most of the free groups are not going to be great. So it may be worth it. I don't know if you've invested in a YouTube course before. Like I know that Gillian Perkins has a really great course, and there's other people like that have YouTube specific. Sunny Lenny-Darzi, right? I don't know if she still does, but there are some YouTube courses that I know that those paid communities are like really, really good. Now you don't go in there and just advertise your services, right? But you can go in, you can be helpful, you can value first, all of those things. But again, it's pay to play in that circumstance. So you have to decide if that's worth it or not. Other free Facebook groups for YouTube, I agree with you. They're not the best. I've been in them. I know exactly what you're talking about. So it may be that if you're like, maybe Facebook groups aren't going to be my best strategy then, right? You can still have your core groups. Maybe you go in, you're in VA Savvies, you're in, Boss Moms, or a couple of other just basic entrepreneur groups. And you could like search for the word YouTube in those groups and provide value. Even if they're not posting a job opportunity, you could still provide value. That would be one suggestion I have for you. Another suggestion, and this is really where it might be best for you to start moving on. The cool thing is about YouTube being your services is that like, you know who your ideal clients are, right? Like if I could say make a list of your ideal clients, you probably wouldn't just say features, you could probably say names, right? Like you can go to YouTube and you can see like if somebody has over 50,000 subscribers, they might be ready for YouTube services. They might be in need of your services. So it may be that you start doing high-end client outreach, which is one of the things we teach in the Savvy system is how do you just reach out directly one-to-one and get these people's attention. And it all comes back to value first, right? And so rather than just kind of like spraying out, like sending 1,000 cold emails a week, please don't do those. They're spammy, they're not well received. But even us at the Virtual Savvy, like we get tons of emails on, hey, I want to work for you. And it's like, cool, I don't have a job for you, right? But there are people who will approach us with like so much value that it's like, well, we weren't looking for a YouTube person, but dang, like you showed up, and that's what you want to do. You want to show up. So how can you do that, right? How could you choose, 5 YouTubers, 10 YouTubers a week just to really blow their socks off with a value first proposal? Yes, it's going to be a cold pitch in their email, but it might be worth it. I will say too, like another thing with YouTube is that for most channels, like a little insider tip, you can actually get their email. Like if you go to, like a lot of times you can just go to their website and see if they have an email to contact them. But on YouTube, if you go to the about section, a lot of times in the about section, there's actually a contact email too. So literally like it's all laid out there for you on YouTube, which is really cool. So just that would be probably my strategy with YouTube. Let's see, as it relates to setting up contracts, what if you're unable to afford an attorney to look over your contract? Can it still be used? So I agree. You want a good contract. You want a contract that is going to protect you. You want a contract that you understand. And you want the ability to ask an attorney if you have a question about your contract. And I'm not just saying this as a sales pitch. We just saw it as a true need. So if you go to the virtualsavvy.com/store, we have a contract. It's called the VA Toolbox, and it is not only a contract for you and your client, we also have a subcontracting agreement. It includes a video that like explains how to use your contract. And if you have questions about the contract, you can ask the attorney who created them. Like we pay her on retainer to answer those questions. Now you can't just ask her any legal question, but if you have a contract specific question, like you don't understand something in the contract, or a client is asking you to change something in your contract, you can ask her. So that VA toolbox is only $97, a one-time fee, and it blows anything else out of the water. So, and it was written specifically for VAs. So that would be my recommendation there, because you do like, please, 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 guys, please do not work without a contract. Like I can't say it enough. You need something to be legally protecting you if you're in a working relationship. So please have a contract in place. Ooh, this is a really good question. You're setting up your business. How much time was spent on business systems and learning the various programs? Oh my goodness, great question, Laura. So, time management. Every single one of us comes into this business with a different amount of time to dedicate to the business, right? So, I can't just say, hey, you need, 2 hours, right? Here's what I would say in the amount of time that you have. So let's say you're able to do this full time, okay? 40 hours a week, you're working 8 hours-ish a day. I would say the majority of that time needs to be spent with marketing. And people, when you actually look at the time you're spending, I would say most of us are spending more time learning than actually getting ourselves out there and applying to job ops and doing proposals and all the things. And you've got to make that switch. It is scary to get out there. It is so much safer to just be in the systems, to be like, I'm just going to keep taking courses. Let me take another course. Let me take another course. And then it's like 6 months later and you're like, I don't have a client. It's like, because you never got out there. You never applied to job ops, right? Like it is scary, but the more you do it, the less scary it gets. And so I would say no matter what amount of hours, it needs to be more time in marketing than anything else. Okay. So 60% marketing, 40% everything else, right? Or 70% marketing, 30% everything else. So if I was taking a regular, let's condense it down, because who really has 8 hours to work in a day? Let's for most of us, right? Most of you guys are doing this while you're like working a full-time job or whatever. So let's say you have a 5-hour day. In that 5-hour day, I would spend 3 hours dedicated to marketing. In my other 2 hours, I would spend learning and setting up my own systems as 1 hour, and then maybe an hour, maybe not even an hour a day, but like an hour a week, maybe learning new tools, like learning something new. So it's like, this is like getting people, and this is if you don't have clients yet, right? Because then eventually what you're going to want to do is you're going to switch some of these hours to be like, you don't need to be working on new tools, just serve your clients, right? Just serve your clients. And then once you like, ooh, I don't really need to do as marketing as much, you could just do 2 hours of marketing because you have a full client base or you're almost full on clients. And then you bring back learning a new tool, right? So does that make sense? So it's really about finding that balance for you. Again, it's why I'm a huge fan of time blocking, is then you can actually look at your calendar and you could color code it if you want to and say, all right, this is how much time I have set aside for marketing. And marketing, guys, is active marketing, not passive marketing. Passive marketing is just like throwing something like a Facebook post up and you're like, I'm a VA. And you're like, I hope people will come to me. No, like active marketing is getting out there, boots on the ground, like applying to job ops, doing the thing, right? Like showing value first, searching for jobs, all of that. So that should be the majority of your time when you're first starting out. Okay. A person who's interested in virtual assistant has no idea how it works. Honestly, that BBO webinar, because we talk about like, what is a virtual assistant? Is it right for me? We literally break down what an independent contractor is, what you need to get started. All of it is included in that training. So I would just direct people there if someone's wanting to be a VA. Now, if you're just like, yeah, someone who's interested in virtual assistants but doesn't know how it works. Unless if you're talking about a client. If you're saying like, so if that's for somebody who wants to become a VA, if you're like a client is interested in hiring you as a VA, but they don't really know how it works, that is your perfect opportunity to educate them, right? So as a VA, it is very important I'm going to say this twice. It is very important that you know how to explain what a VA is. As a virtual assistant, it is very important that you know how to explain what a VA is and how it can benefit a business owner. Okay. So, one of the best ways to do this is to go to a networking meeting because in this virtual world, people know what a VA is. You don't have to explain yourself too often, but you go to like a chamber of commerce or a live networking event and you introduce yourself as a virtual assistant. I swear people are still going to be like, cool. What's that? Like, what does a VA do exactly? They're going to like pretend like they know, but they really don't know. So it's up to you to educate them, right? And so start working on it. It's called your elevator pitch. Oh, well, a virtual assistant can provide administrative or creative tasks for small business owners. Specifically, I work with small business owners on tasks like calendar management, research, answering customer service emails. When you actually list the things, it kind of is like, oh, and then, keep that. Then they'll ask you more. Well, how does it work? Like, how do you get paid? Da, 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 da. Oh, and then you explain that portion of it, right? And so just going through and kind of being ready to know how to answer those questions is important. But then you got to practice it. You got to get out there. You got to go to the networking meetings. Okay, guys, you can do it. Um, Oh, yeah, this is a question we get all the time, Denise. So thank you for asking. Health insurance as a VA. And so there's a couple different options. There's not just one option that's going to work for every person. So here are just kind of the blanket options that I give people. Number one, I always tell people to check out healthcare.gov, right? Because you may be able to find a really affordable plan there. My family, I know when we were looking, it was going to be like $2,000 a month. I was like, no, that's not going to work for us. But for some people, it just depends on so many different individual factors. So you may be able to get super cheap insurance through healthcare.gov. That would be number one. Number two, look up health sharing programs. So there's one called MediShare. My family always, what we ended up doing before we eventually you can become an employee of your own company and offer health insurance. You don't want to do that till you're like way, way, way further down the line. Like I'm like making probably in the high six figures, I would say, is when you kind of want to switch over to being an employer that potentially offers health insurance. So you could offer it to yourself. So I will say Liberty Health Share is what we did for a few years. So I really liked it. I think our coverage was like up to $1 million. It was a really simple system. So Liberty Health Share was really good for us. You can just contact your local like health and human services, see if they have any special programs because there are contacts within your local county. And this is a great question too to like ask at those local networking events because sometimes there are local initiatives for entrepreneurs or local like groups that form kind of these little like health insurance co-op things. But those are all done on a local level, right? So those are things, again, a great question to ask to either at a local networking event, or I always tell people score.org is a really great resource as well. So SCORE.org. Score.org is a really good resource to ask those kinds of more local questions. Again, not just about health insurance, but about like, do I need any special licenses? Do I need any special, like zoning? Like, am I zoned to have a business in my own home? Like, there's weird local stuff that like none of us can keep track of all of it. So score.org and just your local resources are some of the best resources for those. So, but definitely check out Liberty Health Share. Again, that's my top recommendation usually to people when it comes to health insurance. That and healthcare.gov are two really good options. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so many good questions. Somebody else asking about health insurance. So I'm glad we answered that. Oh, yeah, this is a great one, Christy. What are your best tax tips? I've been diligent with tracking. Well, that's my number one tip. Like, if you have done a really great job of tracking everything that came in, everything that came out, then trust me, it is not gonna be stressful. That's the worst part. The worst part is just like if you didn't keep track well. So for anybody who's maybe new to this, I would recommend right away please go get a separate account. It is just the easiest way because if you forget, if you don't do a good job of keeping track, if you have a separate business bank account, right? Which if you go to just where you already bank, you can go to a local bank or wherever. If you have an EIN number, most banks will let you open up. A lot of them have like free business accounts even, and having a total separate account for all of your business income and expenses to go through is going to be one of the easiest ways to track everything, right? I also love just like personally, I was like super old school and just kept everything in a spreadsheet too, like what came in, what went out. That way it was super, super organized. Then at the end of the year, if you work with an accountant already, work with an accountant. Most of us, if you like, however you've done your taxes in the past, I know personally, I always just use TurboTax, and TurboTax has like a small business. Now it's additional. It's not like TurboTax, the regular, I think is free, but the small business package, I have no idea how much it was, but I'm pretty sure it was like under $200, and it made it so easy. Like if you kept track of everything, I promise it is not too scary to go in and just do all of that yourself. Now, if you have like complex situations, right? Like if it's not just I have W-2 from my job and I have these 1099s. Like if you have other external things, if you have real estate, if you have this other income, if you have that, like it's probably going to be worth it to talk to a local accountant and to have somebody do your taxes for you. But if it's a pretty like if you were doing your taxes yourself before, like using something like TurboTax, and all you've done is added this 1099 income, okay, and like your expenses, it's really, really not that hard. Like TurboTax does make it pretty easy for you. So that's my recommendation. But again, I am not an accountant. I cannot like formally give tax advice, but I do know from my personal experience, as long as things are fairly simple and you did a good job of tracking, don't be too stressed. TurboTax is going to make it pretty easy. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and see, it's so state specific. Going back to the insurance thing, some states have developed insurance program for small business and freelancer types, and so that's why I wish I could come and say like, oh, here's exactly what you do, but it is really, really like state and local dependent on what these different programs are. So score.org, again, they are like really, really good at knowing what the different resources are. There's the link to it. Yep. A mentor score offers free mentors as well. And so a score mentor is not going to be like business strategy extraordinaire most of the time. Like you might be like, I'm starting a VA business. And they're like, what is that again? But if you're like, I'm a freelancer, just say that. Like I'm doing freelance services at home. Where do I get insurance? Those are the kind of questions. And like local and county guidelines. Get yourself a score mentor for sure. They're free. You might as well, right? Really, really great advice here. Okay, so I think we answered all the questions from the comments. We have a few more minutes, so I'm going to do a few more Instagram questions. Someone asked, Jen531 asked, where do I even get started? Again, the very best place to start, other than just binging our YouTube channel, because we have tons of resources. It could be a little overwhelming though. So I would say if you're just getting started as a virtual assistant, carve out the time to watch. It's a 60-minute training. Take notes because it's really, really jam-packed. This 60-minute training, people have left this training and just with the free training gone out and gotten their very first client. Okay, so that would be my very best recommendation on where to start. Yeah, and then we had another question about getting clients, which I think we talked about pretty in depth already today. So yeah, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I love these chats with you. They're always so fun. My favorite time is just these Tuesday live streams where I get to hang out. So thanks for this. If you have more questions, if there's something that you didn't think of, make sure to, post it in our Virtual Assistant Savvies group. Our group has reached over 100,000 members now, which is so cool. The virtualsavvy.com/community. If you're not already a part of our VA Savvies group, it is just the best place to get your question. Who loves VA Savvies group? Come on, give it a shout out. Like, it is the best place to ask your questions because it literally embodies community over competition. You guys are literally like going after the same job ops and then just going in the very next post, helping one another become better. And it makes my heart so alive. I believe that that attitude towards generosity, it's one of our core values at the Virtual Savvy, is we give with irrational generosity. And I feel like that really comes back to you. Like I truly believe that. And so just keep doing that, you guys. Keep giving above and abundantly. And I truly, truly believe that that we will grow together, and that if you come and ask questions in that community, try to answer one or two questions, especially when your business is more established. Like come back, give back to the community, right? Because I love seeing what happens in there. So shout out to everyone here. You guys are kicking butt. I know. I'll end with this, okay? Starting a business is not for the faint of heart. Like I literally was talking to one of my very best friends. Just I've been talking to her about virtual assistants for years and years, and she, like, within the past couple months, finally started a VA business. They've got their first two clients, and they hit a road bump, and it was just one of this like, oh, this is so frustrating. Like they're having a client issue, and I'm like, yup. And I know it sucks, but it's part of the process. Like you're gonna have, like, entrepreneurship has its high highs and its low lows like nothing else you've ever experienced. But that's what makes it amazing, right? Like it's not just the boring 9 to 5. I know, and I know what I go into day in and day out. No, it's unexpected, and there's ups and downs, and there's mountains, and there's valleys, and there's curves, but there's so much freedom in it, right? And it's so worth it because you get to dictate it, right? You're not capped by somebody else's, here's your salary, right? Like you're not capped by that. You're not capped by saying, I have to work a 5-day work week. You get that freedom and flexibility, but it comes with the highs and the lows, right? So it's not for the faint of heart, but it's so, so worth it, you guys. So for those of you who are in the grunt of it, maybe you're in one of those valleys right now, stick with it, okay? Reach out, ask for help. Don't do this journey alone. We're here with you, okay? Thank you guys so much. I hope that you have an awesome rest of the day. And of course, we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.